It's past time to expose the Democrats and Republicans for usurping liberty and freedom. What you are about to hear is the amalgam of passion and truth. This is the Southern Liberty Radio Show. Good evening and welcome, Liberty Defenders of the World. Hope you guys have had a great and awesome week. Maybe. I hope so. You're supposed to do what you do, right? Because if you're not fighting for liberty when you step outside that front door, what are you living for? What exactly are you living for? Again, hopefully y'all had a great week. We're switching up the game on Fridays. But before we do that, shout out to everybody in the live chat. I appreciate y'all on the Rumble side, Facebook side, YouTube side, Patreon side. Appreciate y'all out there. My folks down at WRMI down in Okeechobee, Florida. Appreciate y'all. Those are public radio in Ware County, Glenn County, Charlton County, Lowndes County, Georgia. Appreciate y'all. Those y'all out there in Weber County, Utah. Appreciate y'all. Those y'all out there in Box Elder. Y'all know Tremont. Appreciate y'all out there. And everybody else that listens west of the Continental Divide, I appreciate y'all for tuning in this evening. I know I don't shout y'all out enough, but I appreciate y'all. And look, I got shout out my folk here in Florida too now. Y'all folk in Florida been pulling up lately in that little stat feed, and I appreciate you. Keep it going, share it out, all that good stuff, you know. And if you're on the wave, WRMI down in Okeechobee, they can hear you all the way up and down the coast. So do what you do. This evening, though, we're going to bring that heat this evening. Got a special guest. We're going to pull up in here right from the rip. Knowing this cat for, a hot minute, a couple of years. You know what I mean? Very, very, very intelligent. I think he's more intelligent than me. You know what I'm saying? And y'all love me. So if y'all love me, y'all going to love him. You know what I mean? But anyway, we're going to play it off. We ain't going to play it off, though. But I will tell you, though, y'all in for a treat this evening. So without further ado, let me go ahead and introduce my special guest. He comes from a beautiful country called Chile. Well, technically speaking, he's born in California, but he is Chilean. You know what I'm saying? He represents that 100% because that's what is in his veins, right? But anyway, I'm gonna let him talk to y'all and tell y'all what he do. Let me go ahead and introduce y'all to my main man, Fernando Reynoso. What's going on, brother? How you doing, man? What's good?
Hi, MOJ. Well, I'm Fernando. Despite being born in California in 1990, I went to Chile and I studied abroad mathematical physicist. So technically speaking, I'm a mathematical physicist.
Okay, so hold on to that. So what is a mathematical physicist for everybody that don't know? What is a mathematical physicist?
Okay, a mathematical physicist, it is, as we might describe it, a roach between two highly obtuse branches of sciences. One is mathematics and the other one is physics. So we're like placed on the middle because we have many of the tools of mathematics, but we are usually doing research in what is nature and physics, basically basic sciences for the development of new points of research. Basically, that is what a mathematical physicist does. Okay. Usually, most of them goes into teaching math and physics. That is basically what they do. But lately, since I arrived in 2019 to the United States, I've been doing care providing, and I started in digging within the history of the United States, and that's why I have been doing a little bit of entrepreneurship in law lately. That's why I have been reading a lot of court cases, deep diving into the history of the United States, and I found out that there is a lot of things that should be revised through the history of the United States that within the school system is not being taught.
Okay.
Basically that, and if we go, for example, in the matters of, well, you know, emoji pertaining to the 14th Amendment. This is the clear example that many people do not understand it. And that's why I decided to move out from California to my place of residence that I'm living right now in South Carolina. I have a mess on the background.
No, you good, brother. You good, man. So I appreciate you for pulling up. Um, let me ask you about your political journey. Where did
Sure.
you start, and how did you get to where you are now? What, kind of give us that journey and some of those points. What kind of made you like wince your head and be like, well, what am I doing, right?
Oh, sure. Well, my political journey started as a socialist. Yes, I have a shameful past. The thing is that I started as a socialist because I was empathic towards people and all that stuff. But when I started doing a deep dive research into history on my 20s, started making question, and I went forward into communism. But from communism, I went to anarchism, and after that, I look up that there were a lot of inconsistencies on many of those ideologies, even within anarchism overall, because many branches of anarchism doesn't recognize the money as a way of organizing the people, the goods, and the resources that the people have at their disposal. And when somebody starts doing that deep dive digging into that inconsistencies, you start asking the question, okay, I want to feed the people, but how do I do that if there's limited resources? And from that point onward, I start reading more Rothbard, Hayek, Mises pertaining to the praxeology and
Mm-hmm.
everything that it entails, and
Right.
how the decisions are made. And that's how I went down to what is now an anarcho-capitalist or a minarchist,
Mm-hmm.
because philosophically I align more with an anarcho-capitalist, but um, on the pragmatic side, I do understand that not everyone is prepared to that, because it requires a lot of how to say it, the disposition and the self accountability to take responsibility for our own actions.
Right.
So that's why, for the pragmatic side, I'm more leaning to try to shrink the state as much as possible,
Right.
and that is what I wrote on my book, "The Promised Neverland," as a quotation to
Mm-hmm.
all the socialists and the communists and all that stuff.
Right.
Um, the things that the democratic socialist and socialists hide from you. And it's 240 pages of mathematical demonstration and historical research on why socialism and communism will never work.
Excellent. So I think we everybody has a pretty much understanding why I kind of brought you on here as a minarchist myself, right? This is going to be a kind of a great conversation because we have people as I've kind of started aligning, right, and talking about um you have your conservatives, you have your MAGA or America First, and you have Republicans,
Yeah,
right? Republicans, as one young lady would say, is the Republicans like to basically discredit the Republic, and so I've kind of minced her words a little bit, but it's basically what it is. The Republicans are going to Republic, or at least think they're Republican, right? And the Democrats will just Democrat into democracy. They're both going
democracy.
to do this, right? They're both going to do the same thing and bounce off each other and be this big unit party. And we want to kind of get those parties
Separate
out of
from
New
that.
York, right? And get the people like the MAGA, like the America First, and the minarchists and all that stuff to the forefront and tell the political parties this right here. But anyway, I digress on it. Yeah, y'all on the radio can't see that, but y'all know what I did. Y'all are used to me when I make my pauses. But with that being said, I want to get your take on the whole DC thing that's going on. What's your take on that right now?
Oh, well, my take on it is that the president is fulfilling the duties assigned under the Article 2 of the Constitution, which is enforcing the laws of the United States and the whole territory.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the thing is that there has been a surge on criminality within Washington D.C. since all the even prior to all these illegal immigrants coming into the United States, and
Mm-hmm.
that has been established through the homelessness who have been doing several type of crimes, and not just, for example, mugging or stealing cars, but also, um, on TikTok language we would say unaliving,
Mm-hmm.
but It is letting the people's let the
No, you can say whatever you want.
oh,
We here.
we have free language for that matter. Okay, they are killing, kidnapping, among other type
Hmm.
of stuff that is happening there. So
Right.
taking that into consideration, it was a necessary thing to do. You could not be uh, stabbing a person who is working on the White House because he's going to take a damn McDonald's. He
Hmm.
might be, he should be eating something more healthy, but not because of that you're going to be throwing the poker on him.
Right. 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 Right.
The other issues that I found out quite hilarious is that people are complaining that one of the people who was managing the data pertaining to the criminality of Washington D.C. was thrown out of his office because he was modifying the crime so it will be lesser the amount of violent crimes within the area.
Right. Well, I have I've said this for so I look. I have what I'm about to say. I have said it ad nauseum. Right, and it seems like the people do not understand, especially the ones that are the ACAB people, right, and all those people, right. I keep telling them crime can go down year over year. It can go down, but it would be disingenuous to think that crime spikes do not happen during those downturns, right? You
Yeah.
can't, and people that haven't worked within proximity of law enforcement don't understand that. They just think, oh, it's going down, so I guess they're murdering less, this, that, and the third. You could start off half the year with no homicides and get 30 in 2 months. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a crime spike. That's a
Yeah.
crime spike, and that's what Trump personally. That's what Trump is going after. Is that crime spike? He's not. There's. I don't understand how people don't understand this.
That is a thing of concern, to be honest. And the other thing of concern is how the things are being measured. Because I do not know if you have seen the table that Trump uses to justify the issue pertaining to the crime rate on Washington D.C., in
Right.
which, for example, it's saying like 27.6 crimes per 100,000 people compared to other cities and all that stuff. But that is a per capita ratio that they are taking to say that thing. Now
Right.
to have the real number, you will have to multiply the population of Washington D.C. divided by 100K, and then multiply by the factor of 27.6 that they were using on the report.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So when you see 26.6, you should always see at the how much is the population rate that they are using, because with that population rate they can make the number larger or smaller.
Right.
And that is a way of the media manipulating the information, and also the government manipulating the information to try to, hey, you're having this, but the thing that really matters is the spike, as you are telling.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of that, while we're here, right? Um, those of you that don't know, the judge, where'd it go? It just popped up on my screen here. Where'd it go? Okay, so crap. I'm looking for it. Hold on, guys, because something just happened a little while ago, and I had it time to come across the screen here. So give me a hot minute, and I will tell you. Okay, so yeah, so U.S. District Judge Anna Reyes, um, pushed back against the federal takeover, ordering the police chief remain in command, and she also said that it was she made clear that while Trump could require DC police assistance in immigration enforcement, he cannot assume full operational control over the department. Once again, the Home Rule Act of '63 is very, very, very clear on this. Right now, granted, procedurally, I think personally, I think he did it wrong. He should have declared the emergency and then taken control, right? Because with the crime the way it is right now, right? Um,
The emergency
in
would
that
have given the
spike.
justification.
100% correct. But see, here's the other part, and just like to your point, um, about the numbers being skewed, it was brought to my attention that there, those stats do not include one juvenile, and number two, right? When they plead down from the violent crimes, it's not counted, right? This is what not people are not understanding. They're looking at it as in, oh yeah, it's going down year after year, and yes, we have crime spikes, but even with those crime spikes, you're still pleading these people down from second and third degree felonies to first degree misdemeanors, and those that crime falls off of the report because it's now a misdemeanor for like a simple assault or something stupid, and they
The,
just
the,
run
the,
around here scot free.
the category in which it is established, it goes within the statistic. That is the thing that you're saying.
Right, right. And we're talking about cooking the books. I mean, that's a great way to cook the books, right?
California has a lot of experience with that.
Ah, you ain't never lying. They look. They even put them in fire sometime to hide the truth. I'm just saying, I ain't pulling out no conspiracies or anything like that. But I mean, the whole conspiracy with them redistricting. But we'll get into that in a minute. That's all. Like I like to say, hot garbage. I want to ask you one more question about the DC thing, right? Um, what do you think the outcome is actually going to be of all this? You think crime's going to go down, or you think or the courts are going to just say, Trump, you can't invoke the Home Rule Act and peace the fuck out or whatever? Like, what do you think, man?
Well, for what I have seen so far, because there is like two main branches of people being arrested on Washington D.C. right now. One is a lot of people who were persons who were accepted into the country within the 4 years of Biden, which belonged to Islamic cells,
Mm-hmm.
and the other group is people who were like distributing substances overall. And the people who is protesting against that is basically people who is saying, "Hey, these people have the drugs in the bag," and with that in particular goes and say, "Leave." Let me characterize this the proper way. Leave the homeless people alone.
Look, it's
so,
funny. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead,
uh,
man.
so, so personally, I think that there will be a lot of shenanigans coming from the media, and some people should be a skeptic about it because there is a lot of things that are not being told by the media pertaining of what is really happening there on Washington D.C.
Mm-hmm.
So if you see a lot of people saying a lot of homeless people are being arrested on DC, ask yourself the question: in which group are those people? Are those Islamic cells, or people who are selling drugs, or are doing other type of crime?
Right.
Because homelessness is not a crime.
Well, unfortunately, homelessness. Okay, so on the federal level, homelessness is not a crime. But let's also remember, right? Let's also remember, right? Um, if we're going to go historical, Democrats, especially after the freedom of the slaves, through the black codes, passed vagrancy laws to
Ooh, that,
specific to specifically target people that look like me. And those vagrancy laws are still on the book. So in a lot of states, being homeless is a crime, and it should not be a crime. Period. Vagrancy laws, truancy laws, any laws that are made to create a victim should not be withstanding. Period.
as it is established in Article 6 of the Constitution.
Well, yeah, but
And
go ahead.
anything, anything contrary to the Constitution should be null and void from the initial. It has no legal standing whatsoever.
Right.
But the thing is that the state tried to overpass on the ignorance of the people. And that's why I always tell to the people, don't do what my lazy eye does that is looking away. You should start reading and your constitution and know what the fuck are your rights.
But again, that's the thing, right? Because you have the people on the, we call them the political left, right? That will say leave the homeless alone and all this other stuff, but at the same time won't get their states to repeal these vagrancy laws. I mean, and at the same time, to your point, right, about the Constitution, privileges and immunities clause, aka the comedy clause, right? You
Yes,
have the freedom to move about as you wish within the states.
without being encumbered.
Right. So, which goes to how are you passing vagrancy laws? Some people choose to be homeless and travel the country with a little stick and a little handkerchief in the back with the little things in it. You know, y'all know the cartoons. Y'all remember the cartoons. They walk
Yeah,
around hitchhiking with a thumb up. They get like people like to live like that. Let them be. This is America. Let them be that. As long as they're not a strain on the system, we're good. But when
yeah,
you pass laws to create victims, we have problems. We have serious problems. And don't think for a minute they won't think of you walking down the street at 2 a.m. that you're not a vagrant. Isn't that crazy? You can be walking down the street in your town at 2, 3 in the morning, and they will find a way to lock you up.
yeah.
I'm just, I'm, go ahead.
I agree. I agree with you. They are looking for the crime and put the crime into the people and not the other way around.
Right. 110%. But I don't see these Democrats hollering about these laws because they're the ones passing them. Right. I mean, look at what did California. Look at what Mayor Bass has been doing. Newsom's been doing in LA and California. Oh, we got to clean up these encampments underneath the bridges. Why? Oh, it's a crime now to camp out on public property. It's a crime. But if you're going to lock them up for this vagrancy, you should solve the problem that put them there. You know, the economy.
Try to lower the prices, going
Mm,
attacking inflation. Try to avoid the government using less. Try to reduce the debt ceiling. Try to reduce the active debt that the United States has or the state has.
mm-hmm.
Tackle tackling the deficit of each state. Right now, California is at the edge of bankruptcy, and they are passing, sorry for the expression, but stupid laws pertaining to trafficking and
Mm-hmm.
pertaining to decriminalizing the notification of people having AIDS.
Right. That's right.
Because right now they lower the status from a felony to a misdemeanor on the last law that they approve on California pertaining to this matter.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. But look, but see, here's the other part of that conversation too, right? Is because now Trump said, I got to call him out. Trump sat here and said that we're going to clean up the homeless and we're going to put you in facilities. Absolutely not, Mr. Trump. Absolutely, you cannot force people somewhere outside. You know what I'm saying? Unless it's their will.
It- it-
You can't use the weight of the state to impose your will, Mr. Trump.
yeah, and you're right on that. Trump shouldn't be saying that. If the
No.
homeless commit a crime, he should be arrested as anyone who commits a crime, but
Mm-hmm.
not for the mere sake of being a homeless. And I completely agree with you on that. And because of all this process, could be some collateral damage, as you might say it,
Right.
but the issue is that we're trying to mitigate the collateral damage towards people who is actually not doing anything.
Right. Right. And look, that's the thing, right? And a lot of people are going to disagree with this point, but back to California a second. You know what? We have to remember as people, right? We have access to public property, right? We have the access to public property. We pay taxes for public property, right? But the government also cannot trespass you from public property, right? And let's think about this a minute, right? We look at these homeless encampments underneath bridges, on the sidewalks. I mean, let's keep it real, y'all. Let's keep it real, everybody. Right? Should
or
they
the
be
thing,
right? Should they be trespassed from the sidewalk? Because if you want them trespassed from the sidewalk and the street and the overpass infrastructures, you're allowing them to trespass you off of private property for any reason. Also, we have to remember
yeah.
that depends that we have to remember if we're going to apply that print, we have to apply it all the way around. Now, this is when the community gets involved. Okay, we need to clean up these homeless encampments. What can we do as a community to clean this up? What can we do as a community to get the state right to remove these laws that clamp down the economy of of that state, so people can actually go to work and make a living? Where do we go there?
Actually, I've been doing a little bit of research in regard to that because the thing of California pertaining to the AIDS bills that I was giving you an example for does
Hmm.
not only affect California but affect the all 50 states
Right.
because there will be a lot of more people who will be infected with AIDS without knowing it. And those people, when they travel through the states, they are going to be having sex with other people, and that will be a health hazard overall. And this is not coming from me, who is a mathematical physicist, but it is a matter of a common sense. Hey, let's put it on simple words. People are or horny, and when they go out, they will be having sex,
Hmm.
despite of their belief. So if you do not know one of them got infected with AIDS, that is a ticking bomb that will be going through all the people that he will be having interactions with.
Right. Exactly right, and to a point, I just seen it in the chat here, right? And you're exactly right. They said the movement. I'm gonna bring it up on screen. The movement to make housing a fundamental human right, I perceive as imposing mandatory residence not a good idea, and that's exactly correct. That violates natural law. That
Yeah,
violates natural law, right? You know, and it just goes into the laws of autonomy, things of that nature. So we can't we can't say, oh, this is a human right, because you do not have the entitlement to someone else's labor, whether it be the state's labor or private labor.
or
You're
private
not
labor.
entitled to that, right?
Yeah,
So it's we have to, as a community, right, when it comes to this issue in particular, we have to, as a community, come together and make the economics of at least the local area better. Don't worry about the state, just your town or your county. Make the economics better so these people can get off of the public easement, right? Because we have to also remember,
yeah.
right, the sidewalk, again, sidewalks public property, and it's also public easement, and everybody has a right to the public easement, regardless of, that's muni statute. You know what I mean? And Constitution even backs that up, right? So we have to make it possible, right? And it's hard. And again, some people want to be homeless, right? But we should be
Yeah,
setting up homeless camps for them to be able to go and be free and be homeless in this particular area or wherever the case may be. That way they're safe and not, infringing on potentially private property, etc. I mean, there's a lot of solutions, but everybody just wants to throw them in jail under vagrancy laws.
yeah, and I agree with you. And the issue why I was bringing up the issue with this law in California is because that will count as a mad Congress, because on law
Hmm.
there is a concept established as mad Congress. And
Right.
what do we do when the Congress is actively making laws that are prejudicial to the public?
Right.
So that is an issue that could be tackled upon this issue. And if, for example, if the legislators or the Congress, the federal Congress, are
Hmm.
approving laws that are against the people have the right through Article 3 of the Constitution to issue suits against the government to take
Right.
down these laws as
Right.
a remedy for that.
Correct.
And that is why people should start learning more about the Constitution and how the judicial process works, because the judicial process is the only remedy we have against these type of authorities.
That's correct. That's exactly correct. But, well, again, that's a whole. I mean, that's a whole nother uh, um, whole nother ball of wax we
Yeah.
can talk about, right? Because I mean, there are so many solutions to this problem, but no one wants to do it. And again, I just want everybody to know this is a fight between public and private. Where do you want the encroachment to be, right? And the question I will still ask is, if you're trespassing people off of the public easement, just remember the same exact law will apply to you under the same circumstance. You could just be walking and be trespassed off public property. And we've seen many court cases that people have been on public property and been trespassed by the police and end up suing the city and winning hundreds of thousands of dollars over being trespassed from public easement. So we have to tread lightly when we're on this subject and removing people from public property, because it can cost the city more, which is going to cost the taxpayers more because you're going to have to pay that
Mhm.
lawsuit. So let's improve the
Yeah.
local economics and make it better for everybody. I mean, that's the simple solution to the whole thing. But anyway, I digress. I want to I want to get your opinion on this redistricting stuff that's going on. This mid census redistricting. What's your take on that?
Oh well, for the mid decade sensor census, I'm completely in agreement with it. We need to have an accurate representation of the population of the United States, and with the amount of illegal
Hmm.
people that is within the country, or the nation, should I say, there is a lot of things that are not being properly counted. That, along with those, the representation that we have in Congress, there is estimated that is around like 17 seats that will be lost in California just because of the amount of illegals that are within those territories. And you could use other states as an example. If we do not
Hmm.
have accurate representation for the citizens of the United States in Congress, then what type of what is the word I'm looking for? What type of clarity we could have pertaining to the laws being approved by Congress? Are those
Hmm.
representative? Are we being taxed without representation or misrepresentation, should I say?
Right.
That is an issue. And I think that the census could correct that issue by having a good representation of the actual population, understanding who is an American citizen or a citizen of the states, in comparison to the residents and the illegals. And I'm not having any bash against the residents, because the residents did the things the legal way. They did the things the right way. But the illegals, on the other hand, it is a complete shenanigans on this matter.
Right.
And this
So,
and and this leads me to the issue that happened on Texas with the
mhm,
redistricting.
right. And see, and a lot of that shift too, right? A lot of that shift, okay, is from what I've seen preliminary on the maps, from what you know what I mean, I haven't really dug into it, but the where they're redoing it, they're keeping where I think they found out a way to figure out where the illegals are, and they've shifted those districts where you'll have the illegals in the districts with the Democrats, and the Republicans still hold, because what I have noticed even in Tennessee, I've noticed it in Kentucky, and I've noticed the change even in Alabama. They're bringing the illegals into the red districts and they're purpling them out, right? Texas said, "Oh, is this what y'all doing? We're just gonna take this, we're gonna slide this like this and cut this up here and go around here, and you can have your illegals. You're not gonna mess up our appropriations, right? You're not gonna mess up the money we're getting in our district because you want to put illegals down here and you know shorten, you know, squeeze out the population. No, I believe that's what they did. I honestly believe that's why Texas did what they did. My
Yeah,
opinion, not conspiracy, but I'm just saying what I'm saying.
yeah, and California complaining that, oh, we are going to be doing the same, despite that they did the same thing on 2021. with the redistricting of 2021, and Illinois, it is a full mess with District 13 and District 7, if I'm not mistaken, because
Mm-hmm.
there is one that looks like a T, and there
Yep.
is other one that looks like a full uppercut
Yep.
coming from down up.
Yep. Tiger uppercut. Street Fighter. They're playing Street Fighter with the districts. But my friend Val in the chat brings up a good point. She says illegals are causing homeless camps and election fraud. Look,
And that is true.
uh, I don't see the lie she told there. Because if the illegals are taking up the housing, right, and they're piling in 6, 7, 8 deep, right, paying $3,000 a month in rent because they can afford it because all 9 people working, right? I mean, your houseless people. And see, here's the thing. I want to make something clear also, too, right? There's a difference between houseless and homeless. Okay, there's a difference. There's a moral difference between the two, right? Houseless means a structure, right? It's the structure. You don't have a structure to go home to. You can be houseless, right, and still be on the street. But that when you, I think that point is when you lose everything, right?
Yep.
You become homeless at that point, right? You don't even have any kind of shelter. And those people that have, especially in California, those people that became houseless because of the housing crash, right? Or they couldn't pay the rent because the rent started getting astronomical, right? They try to work their job a couple months, living in their car, didn't work because proper hygiene, things of that nature. They ended up losing their jobs, and that's how a lot of people ended up in Skid Row in California. But the Democrats don't see that, right? The people in Maryland don't see that point. That their economic policies is causing the destruction of families. My take.
Yeah, that goes along with other problems because in California there is laws within the state saying that it is illegal for the person receiving the vote to check out your identity and see if you are a citizen or not who is valid to vote.
Right.
And that leads to another issues, what is happening within the legislatures of every state pertaining to the voting and how they are pushing forward the votes up until the federal election,
Right.
and and the apportionment of power within the Congress. um, but this is a quite interesting and long topic to address, and I think we might be falling short. But I do feel happy because of the result that were happening on Texas. Not because of the redistricting, because it happened, but
Right.
because the Democrats who run away were being prosecuted by the FBI because they were getting
Right.
away of their obligations and duties in the legislature, and
Right.
the FBI was chasing them down, and any complete anyone who was complicit with the action, and that includes Beto O'Rourke and his foundation that he was paying those bills to. Hey, Democrats, please go to Illinois, and we are going to give you a good welcome here. That is illegal.
Right. 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 So I want to hit one thing real quick before we move on to the next thing. I want to make sure everybody does the those of you that are watching on the Rumble, watching on the YouTube, watching on the Twitch. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Okay. Make sure you check out the Patreon, patreon.com/TOLMF. Or if you
uh,
can't find it that way, Torture Liberty Media Foundation. Those y'all on the live airwaves, y'all tuning in, the little knobs, squelching in. Make sure you go ahead and uh hit your like buttons if you listen to it through the app and all that good stuff. If you listen to it on the actual transceiver itself, I can't help you, but just go to your cell phone and find it and like it wherever you want to get it, all that good stuff. Get it how you live. But anyway, we are here still with my man, Mr. Reynoso over here in the building. We're doing the things, we're talking everything politics for next probably 20 minutes or so. We're gonna sign off this piece here as usual because you already know it's Friday night. Um, but I want to bring everybody's attention. The good old mayor of New Orleans, another mayor of New Orleans caught up on corruption. Oh my God. I ain't think how does lightning strike twice in the same spot? Latoya Cantrell was indicted after federal corruption investigation. She basically used city funds for personal relationships or personal favors. Like,
Oh,
woo,
like the hush
doggy,
fund,
huh?
like the hush fund from Congress.
Not the hush fund particular, bro. Not like the hush fund, but it was hush. Let me. I got to bring it up. I got to show y'all. And I'm surprised NBC even covered the darn thing. But where are we at here? Do. There we are. Now it's gonna come up. It'll come up in a second. There we go. Yeah, so this mayor, this lovely mayor, Miss Latoya Cantrell, accused of criminal cover up to keep affair with officer secret. Woo, dog, it's getting spicy in New Orleans, boy. It's getting spicy, Lord. um, a federal grand jury indicted Ms. Cantrell on charges of defrauding the city while trying to keep her romantic relationship with the police officer a secret. Suki now. Lord. Ooh, she getting in hot and heavy. I mean, I'm just saying, like, she must have some dreams or something, Lord. But anyway, she is charged with conspiracy to commit wire fraud, conspiracy to obstruct justice, making false statements, and a false declaration before a grand jury, according to a federal indictment. Lord,
When we're
like
talking about
shortly,
when we're talking about her
what was
fantasies,
that?
can we be talking about like, oh please, police officer, arrest me and give me with everything, give me with the hammer of the law.
You was wrong for that, bro. You wrong. Oh my god. Oh my God, this is Miss Val. You got it right. The Fannie Willis syndrome. That's what we got to call it. The Fannie Willis syndrome. They like going out with they underling officials. Okay, um. So as they go on, the mayor's attorney Eddie Casting recently received the information and thoroughly reviewing the document. Blah blah blah. We know ain't shit gonna. But the prosecutors alleged that Cantrell was in a romantic relationship with Jeffrey Paul Vappy II, who served on the New Orleans Police Department's Executive Protection Unit from May 2021 to April. Ooh, silky, 3 years of silky time. Ooh, Lord.
Oh la
Ooh,
la.
doggy. That's what happens when them police officers on your executive detail. Yes. They also go on to say to hide um their relations from detection and to maximize their time together, Cantrell and Vappy exploited their public positions to develop and implement a scheme to defraud the city of New Orleans and the New Orleans Police Department by engaging in personal activities while Vappy claimed to be on duty and was paid for. Wait a minute. What is this? What does that sound like to you? Like, wait a minute. Let me read that again. Y'all see that on the screen? I know you do, Lord. I know you see. To hide their relations from detection and to maximize their time together, Cantrell and Vappy exploited their public positions to develop and implement a scheme to defraud the city of New Orleans and New Orleans Police Department by engaging in personal activities while Vappy claimed to be on duty and was paid. Look, I don't know what that sound. I know what that sound like. I ain't going there. I know what that sound like. But anyway,
Ah,
homie already facing charges of wire fraud and making statements. He has pled guilty. So he was already facing charges and getting more. Jesus Christ. Hi. Wow.
this is fraudception. Fraud within fraud within fraud,
Right.
like those Matryoshka dolls.
Right. So So the pair's 3-year fraud scheme exploited their public authority and position. U.S. Attorney says Cantrell was what? Lord Jesus, they going to hell, y'all. They going to hell. She was married during that period to attorney Jason Cantrell, who died in August 2023. The mayor and Vappy have said their relationship was strictly professional, but the indictment portrayed it as personal and intimate. I'm just saying. Oh,
Well,
federal.
if it was strictly professional, that means that the ramming should have been pretty good, if you understand what I mean, to a professional level. If it's a
This
high
is
standard.
crazy. This is crazy. So federal prosecutors allege the two used the WhatsApp platform to exchange 15,000 messages, pictures, and audio. Anyway, I'm moving on. Um, what else are they talking about? The prosecutors say Cantrell and Vappy also used the app to intimidate subordinates, harass a citizen, delete evidence, a lot of colleagues, and can commit perjury for the purpose of distracting and impeding investigations into their actions. Vappy accompanied Cantrell on 14 domestic and international trips to maximize their time together. For example, during a working trip to San Francisco in 2022, the pair stayed an extra day to visit Napa Valley and wineries, and Vappy claimed to have worked 15 hours. You mud sucker, sucker, suki, suki now. In one text message, Cantrell characterized their moments together as times when we are truly alone and what spoils me the most. Oh, Lord. Ooh, Suki Suki, it's getting spicy at the winery, fam. It's getting spicy. Oh man, I know this is supposed to be serious, but this is too good not to be a funny soap opera. Oh my god. What else do we have in here? And y'all remember Ray Nagin back in Katrina when he was convicted of all kinds of frauds and stuff. But I had to bring that to y'all attention. Suki Suki time. You know what I mean? Like, look. Oh
Oh,
man, this is funny. This is funny. This is too funny. But anyway, so we got about 12. What happened to my camera? It don't matter. Okay, we got about 12 minutes left. And
yeah. MLJ, there was a question that I wanted to address. It happened like a
yeah.
5 minutes away. He was asking pertaining to how illegals are being counted and how they can be represented on Congress.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is an important question that we should be addressing too, because the Constitution established the apportionment of the representatives by the people who are within the districts.
Right.
Therefore, if you are having washed down a population within a district because you have illegals being counted, you are
Right.
allowing for the new formation of new districts and therefore new seats within Congress.
Right.
And that
Right.
changed the apportionment of power. And that's why, for example, California have 50 or 45 seats, if I'm not mistaken.
I think the new electoral college count for California is
It should be around,
I think it's 51. I think if I remember
I,
correctly.
I think it was around 45 to 50. It was a number like that. I do not recall the
Okay.
exact number, but if we discount all the illegals, that thing will go down to the lower 30s. And that changed the balance of power between the states. And that will force the people to do more campaign in other places besides New York, California, Texas, and Florida, which are the
So
biggest.
it's 53. It's 54. Yeah, they had 55. They lost one, made it 54 because they lost the one seat, one here to Florida because we got a new district, and one to Texas. One Texas got one seat too. So
Yeah. That's why that is how illegals are allowed to be represented by the census, because the census wasn't filtering out those who were illegals.
right, but the other part of that conversation too is even if they don't count the, let's just take the non-counting of illegals out, right? For example, and they send them like we seen Biden do, right? We seen Biden put them on airplanes. He's not flying them to Illinois, right? Remember, he wasn't flying them to Illinois. He wasn't flying them to New York. He wasn't flying them to any other of the blue states. He was flying them to Tennessee, flying them to Alabama, trying to fly them into
Exactly.
Florida, right? Texas, right? And he was trying to do all that, right? Because I want people to also understand, right? If the illegals take up the empty housing, right, that's more of a chance that Democrats can take control of an area by the vote, right? Because if illegals, like, let's just say they're not voting, right? Let's just say they're not voting. That's a placeholder for a vote. Illegals are placeholders for a vote if they're living in these dwellings, right? Because they can't vote and they're taking up space. They're taking up residency, right? You're not going to be able to get any other, any other voting demographic in there because that's in their place. And I think ultimately that's their ultimate plan, to dilute these Republican strongholds down to a point where the Democrats, if they persuade a couple of few three Republicans, they'll have their way and they'll flip the counties.
And that is the issue. As there is more population within a state, there is the capacity for more districts. And when you have more
Right,
districts, you have an apportionment that will change the balance of power within the Congress. And that's the issue overall that happened with the illegals.
right. That's exactly right. So I got one more question for you, and I got to ask: deportations. How do you think it's going?
I think it has been slow so far. It should be
Mm-hmm.
faster, but I do also comprehend that with all the indictments and all that stuff, the process has been a little bit halted because the courts should be managing this issue to the whole process. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm confident that the courts will make eventually the right decision, either on the lower courts or the appellate of the circuits. Uh, will go through the right direction, and within 2026 through 2028 overall we will have more deportations than we had with Obama because there is more resources appointed towards that stuff.
Get them all. Get them
Yeah.
all. Catch them all like Pokemon. You heard? Like get them.
My personal opinion is deport
Mm-hmm.
them all, even the DACA, because
Why the doctor? What? Go ahead.
the DACA, after the whole thing that happened within Los Angeles, most of the DACA were the one who were protesting there, and they were
Good point.
burning and they were looting on that area. Therefore,
Good
if the
point.
DACA feel more comfortable with their identity as Mexicans, and I'm not saying that everyone is, but if you feel more comfortable with your identity as a Mexican or whatever country you are coming from, if you are a DACA, then you should be going to that country and live the life there.
Mm,
Because you are saying that your roots is more important than the life that you're having today, right now. I do understand that the DACA came here by force because the parents didn't want to let the kids alone within the country of origin, so they bring them with
mhm.
them. But that doesn't give the authority to the DACA to do whatever they please and start destroying the thing that even their own parents risk their life while being illegal, trying to build up here within the United States.
Right. Right. I look. I'm the type of person. Look, in the beginning, and a lot of my listeners will tell you. In the beginning, I'm like, okay, we need to kind of figure this out, balancing act, right? Yes, get rid of the bad hombres, 100%. Get rid of the bad hombres, the murderers, and all these people. Get rid of them. The people that want to beat the old ladies on the street, get peace in the Middle East. Don't cook in chicken grease. Get by, right?
Yeah.
I've gotten to, I've moved from that point to, you know what? I don't care how you got here. If you don't have status, you ain't got to go home, but you can't stay in my home. You got to skedaddle, you got to peace out, you got to do all that.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to sit here, right, and not understand our laws, the first one you broke getting here, the first one you broke getting here, and you still gonna stand out in the streets, talk about a cab, all that, right? And you gonna
By
sit
the way,
right, and you said, and they say with the flag, and we got the Mexicano flag and the Guatemalan flag and all these flags in the air. You know what I'm saying? Doing the little tiptoe dances. Look, I'm telling you, fam. I'm telling you. Um, it's a privilege to be in this country. It's a privilege to be here. It ain't a right to be here. It's a privilege. And if you don't act right, you should be picked up by the back of your neck like a mama picks up her puppies and drug up out of here. Real speak. That's where I'm at. I'm tired. I'm tired. You ain't coming, tired of coming in my house that was built on the backs of great people to turn around and disrespect it. You can take your ass home. Real speak.
yeah. This is a simple issue that many people don't want to go to the macro to say, hey, this is my home. I need to protect the people within my household. I need to protect myself. And I need to ensure that everyone who is living within my household lives in a good capacity. That is the first thing that everyone should be having on their minds.
Mm-hmm.
And when you extrapolate this to the country, saying, okay, this is my country, I should be allowing the people who lives within this country in a good way, allowing them to have a good and
Mm-hmm.
prosperous life. But that thing should be a choice for them as well. If they don't want to live within this country, they should be able to leave this country
Mm-hmm.
and not staying here. And if you want to come into the United States, hey, look at the process. You have the embassies of your country, and you can look up what you should do to immigrate within the United States and have no issue with that.
Right. Run her.
Because right now the paperwork has been stagnated for all the people who are doing it legally, because we have to process all the illegals. If the illegals were doing the things the right way,
Mm-hmm.
we will be on like a clock within the people who are doing this matter legally.
Right, and here's the other side of it too. We got to roll out in a couple minutes, right? But here's the other side of that, right? This visa program, right? And this is where me and a lot of conservatives and a lot of Republicans we split. I want a closed job market. No outsiders coming in, right? No outsiders coming in and taking jobs from Americans because every single tech job, whatever, can be staffed by an American if the education is provided to do so.
Uh,
That's that's and
that's true.
that's the problem I have with the H-1B and the H-1A visa program. That's one of the problems I have because you're importing labor that you can teach Americans, right? I mean, I remember the same team of people telling the auto workers to learn the code, right?
Yeah,
Learn the code. Why aren't you not teaching them to code or teaching others around you to code to take these tech jobs that are coming open? No, you'd rather say, we need to bring in the brightest and the best from India and Pakistan into our country. No, why aren't you training the Americans in our country to do those jobs? Close the
and
job
also,
market, huh?
that's a security problem within the United States, because you are importing those jobs from other countries, and those
Mm-hmm.
people doesn't have any type of allegiance to the United States. Therefore, you are not developing new technologies within the United States,
Right.
but you are allowing to the foreign to adapt, understand, and can manipulate the information and the technologies you have within the territories and bring it up back home, and that could become eventually a risk toward the national security if you are going
Yep.
through an armamentistical development.
Exactly.
It
Exactly.
is all a matter of logistics, information, and how you process the data.
Yep.
And right now, China, India have a huge monopoly within the technologies pertaining to the United States.
Mm-hmm.
We might not like that reality, but it's the reality that we have right now, because right now, China has been producing the chips for Apple for years, if not
Years, right,
generations.
right,
Therefore, they know already everything that is happening within the cell phone so far. Um, Another thing is that India, they are managing all the tech services pertaining to. Hey, um, hello, I'm Jonathan from Technical Services. How can I help you? How many of you have received that type of attention? And I'm not, and again, I do not have nothing against the Indians.
right,
But the thing is that they are overwhelming, stacking the amount of information that they can manipulate over Americans. And
right,
with that information, they have been running the rings pertaining to a lot of fraud that is affecting Americans overall. I
right,
was a victim of that. The issues that I was competent in law enough that I recovered the lost money from that situation, but it could happen to anyone, and not everyone has the capacity to defend themselves towards this issue.
right. That's exactly correct. Again, close the job market. Teach our fellow Americans how to do these jobs. Right. I mean, and it's even down to the. And I know we're gonna run a little long. Sorry, guys, we're gonna run a little long. You got it. But even down to the blue collar jobs, right? Because the blue collar jobs is what you're going to need to make all this technology work. All of it. All of it. These data centers, right? You're going to need an electrician. You're going to need a plumber, right? For these data centers, right? Uh, Carpenters, you're going to need these blue collar workers to operate this tech space. It's just not, oh, big fancy computers and all this stuff. No, the blue collar is the backbone of all of that. And the same people, again, I'm saying them people, y'all know them people I'm talking about. I tell you don't go into the trades. You got to go into tech. That's where the money's at. Well, how you going to have the tech if you ain't got no building? You ain't got no electricity. You ain't got no plumbing, right? You ain't got a pot. You ain't got a pot the shit or piss in if ain't no plumber. Will you poop on the
Mhm.
floor like you in Africa? Like I don't. I'm just saying. I'm not saying they do that in Africa, but I'm just saying I might have seen some holes on TV or on a picture. Something they doing poo poo in the hole. But anyway, you do that in a data center or a tech center, right? You need all these blue collar workers. So we need to get the blue collar workers up. Once you get the blue collar workers up, at the same time, simultaneously training people to be in tech and bring everything and again I love what Trump saying, bring the jobs back to America, manufacturing jobs back to America. I said it before and I'll say it again, and people hate cringe when I say this. Manufacturing jobs are not really going to come back to the United States, right? Our economy is really based on a service economy now,
Yep.
right?
We're a
And
consumer and service economy for that matter.
right, exactly. And in this space, technology is king, and we're seeing it. For example, you go to your McDonald's, you got more kiosks than employees. You go to Walmart, you got more self checkout than employees, right? This is what people don't understand. This is where we're going to be. So we need to get Americans in the tech space and learn these different technologies, learn AI, learn these different things, right? And the blue collar workers, y'all keep doing your thing, because without the blue collar workers, we can't build the buildings to put to take to participate in this consumer service based economy. But no one wants to hear that.
Yeah. And my recommendation, if you are going to be learning to use the I would recommend you to learn at least one language of coding. Could be Python, C++, whatever, because all the languages work within the same format.
Right.
And this with the purpose that whenever you are asking some type of information or one type of code to the AI, you know what is doing the AI and how you can correct it and modify it to fit your necessity,
Right.
so you can develop your product in a better way and not just depend on the AI, but also bring up the fruit out of yourself within what is in your mind.
Right. That's exactly correct. So with that, hey, look, I appreciate you taking time out. I know it's late this evening and all that good stuff. I mean, this is normal time for me and rest of the people, but this is a normal time for everybody else. But anyway, um, I appreciate you for pulling through, coming through like kung fu, as I like to say. And I'm gonna leave the last word with you. What do you got good about liberty to say to the people? Talk to the people real quick before we roll out of here.
Well, first of all, people, I'm going to repeat the joke I did at the beginning of this live. Don't do as my lazy eye is doing, which is looking away from reality. Uh, Learn your rights, study the Constitution in a way that you can feel and breathe it. Okay? Every time that you breathe and speak about, try it to be something about the Constitution in a way that you can understand it. And if you do not completely understand it, go to people who does this on a daily basis. MOJ is one of the my favorite, to be honest about it, because every time that I hear from him I learn something new. Um, and if you want to know about mathematics and how the economics entails with politics, I would recommend you to read my book. You could find me on TikTok.
You you have a copy of the book right there by you, so you can show it on film
uh,
real quick by chance.
the issue is that most of my books are still in California because my father is still living there, and I need to bring them up here.
What's the
But
name of the book? I can pull it up real quick. What's the name of the book?
uh, it is The Promised Neverland, but since it is called The Promised Neverland, it happens something funny with it. Well, the issue is that it will appear a manga. Therefore, you will have to look it up on the books section called Political Science.
Let's see if I can pull it up real quick. The Promised Netherland, not a case for antinatalism. No, I know that's definitely not you.
No, it is a front cover of Marx being on flames.
Oh, okay. Hold on a minute. I'll probably find it. Give me a second. I'll find it.
It is on
Oh, I
flames.
found it right here. Here it is, right here. I found it right here. Perfect.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can pull it up right here. Oh, here it is, right here. Perfect. 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 I have. Oh, I'll throw it on the background here real quick to represent for you, brother man, as always. Let me pull up the presentation screen. Boom. There it is, right there.
There is a lot of typos within the book. I do recognize that. I'm not a linguistic. I'm a mathematical physicist. Remember that thing. But this was my complete analysis on pertaining to the math, the politics, and the history about socialism and why it can never be. And there is a lot of interesting things pertaining to fascism and Nazism overall as well. Within this complete historical and holistic analysis I did over this matter.
Right on. So y'all see the book? It's on the screen. I will provide the link to it since I have it here. In the show notes. Yeah, if you feel inclined, hey, go take a gander, go pick it up, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and and,
And if
and
you,
uh,
and
re-
if you haven't, and for the audience, if they have any doubts pertaining to the content of the book, I have no issue in giving response to that. And you can find me on TikTok by American Integrity Project AIP.
there you go. There you have it. With that being said, brother, I appreciate you for coming through this evening and talking with us, talking with the people, and the hot takes and all that good stuff on our politics. I want to wish everyone, I want to bid everyone to do, but remember what I always say: you gotta love your neighbors. Even though if they're Democrats, you gotta love your neighbors anyway because you gotta live amongst them. You also gotta love your family. But ultimately, if you don't love yourself, you can't love anybody else. Until next time, y'all. Peace and love.
Amen.